We at Time Shifters hope that you enjoyed this rare and infamous moment that combines a first-rate disaster with genuine historical significance. But now it's time to take a deep breath as we prepare to temporarily reset you. Get your cars to Mars.
Everyone, and welcome to the Time Shifters podcast in studio edition. I am here with Tom. I'm looking at him face to face.
And not with a camera. Physically in the room.
Yeah, this is very awesome. He's come in from out of town to join me here in the studio, which is very cool. Always happy to see you.
Yes, no, always a pleasure to come and visit.
So how have you been? I mean, we, at the time of this recording, last month, we are at the Pennsylvania Monster Bash in Mars, Pennsylvania.
Mars. Yes, no. We got our own cast to Mars.
That's right, which is, yeah, I couldn't believe how fitting it was that would be the first one you make while we're right in the middle of this Mars movie theme.
Yeah, I was still stunned that you didn't catch it before I did.
Yeah, you got it. You came up with it. Oh, we definitely got to play up the Mars thing. I'm like, I had not thought of that.
After you came up with the tag for this year.
Yeah, terrible. Apparently, we've talked about this, you coming to the Monster Bash for like a decade.
Well, yeah, no, and it's never worked out, so it was nice that it finally did.
So I had to ask you, what did you think of the bash?
It was an interesting experience. Now, I fully own that the older classic monster movies I fully appreciate. I've seen many of them, but this is definitely catered to the crowd that is hardcore into the 30s and 40s and 50s genre of monster movies to an nth degree that I was not capable of keeping up with.
Yeah.
And then some of the stuff that it was interesting. It was some of the stuff, watched a movie that I had never seen before, the Bela Lugosi film. I'd even need you to say the name again because I don't recall. I know it's based on an Edgar Allan Poe thing, but very loosely.
Yeah, Murders of the Rue Morgue.
Thank you. The Murders of the Rue Morgue.
Or In the Rue Morgue.
In the Rue Morgue, which is very loosely a movie even, because I don't know that it broke an hour. And probably that was to our benefit. But no, getting to hear that, it was funny catching the pre-show talk about it, where people knew more about this movie and talked it up like it was so much more. And then when we go to actually watch the movie, I'm like, you gentlemen have gotten a whole lot more out of this experience than I think even the cast, crew, and writers did.
No, oh, absolutely. Yeah, that was a fun one because we had someone doing, like you said, a pre-show talk on it, and we watched the film, and then someone else, another author and film historian, did a post kind of show presentation on it, and it was getting their two different takes. And you're right. There are times where I think you're reading a lot more into this.
And you know what? I can appreciate bringing your experience into it to get as much out of it as you can. So I appreciated it. I wasn't there with them in that, but it was still fun to see people. I like watching people geek out on the things that interest them, because I'm guilty of it too, and I'm sure in the right spot with the right crew, I would bore the living pants off of them. So it's knowing your audience.
Yeah.
I might not have been their core audience, but it was still fascinating to be a part of it.
You are correct as far as who the bash caters to. Mm-hmm. And it's been something that's been of subject to those of us that go every year.
Right.
Is the audience for this thing is quickly kind of
aging out.
Yes, yeah. We're losing people that go to this thing just by the fact that they are getting older.
I mean, by the nature of these films, I mean, we're talking 100-year-old properties, and no matter whether or not you have an appreciation for them, and there will always be a crew of people that will have an appreciation for them, but maybe not to that in-depth level. I mean, seeing the vendor showcases where there's seas of movies that I have never heard of. And I can appreciate that they exist, but it's hard to get into that since I wasn't in the first place.
Yeah.
So it was like visiting another realm of genre that I hadn't had before. And I love watching you geek out about all of it, too.
Yeah, because I do have a good time. It's a little bit like when I go to like Gen Con. I appreciate everything there.
Yeah.
I love seeing the artwork, and I love the passion that people put into these games and the designing the games and playing the games. But yeah, I feel like I have stepped into a foreign land and I don't know the language.
Exactly. And that's what was actually a lot of fun with the whole thing. While it might not be my specific thing, everybody is absolutely wonderful. They're all very warm and friendly, and they're having fun doing it. Like the last evening in particular, with some of the games that were being played, and then the Goofy throwing the prizes into the audience stuff, and watching people get all worked up about it. All of it was very fun. It was a fun convention. It was just like I was an alien visiting another world and enjoying somebody else's ceremonies, and it was, I could appreciate it, but maybe not necessarily understand all of it.
No, understood.
Yeah.
I was happy to see that there were some younger visitors.
Oh, yeah.
But you're right. Most of the audience are 50, 60, 70 and up.
My running joke is, as a 52-year-old man, I was probably one of the youngest people there.
Yeah. Definitely one of them.
With the exception of a young couple that was fascinating, because the girl that got to participate in one of the games was there because of a teacher involved in, I would have loved to just talk to them more, because apparently she was there for some sort of special effects school of some kind, which I'm like, I want to know more about that. So, but yes, no, she was easily someone in her 20s, and I'm like, you are definitely a fish out of water here.
Yeah. No, there was a few people there. There was a few families. I like that it is a family orientated
Yes.
convention, and so people do bring their kids.
Yes.
And their kids are now, some of them are teenagers
Yeah.
or they're 20 something, and they've been going to the bash for like the last 10 years of their lives, and it's just part of their life now.
No, in fact, if anything, I was ultimately fascinated that I actually got to meet a graduate from the university that I work at in Mars, Pennsylvania, completely disjointed from the environment that I would have probably run into him at. So that was fun.
Yeah, so you got to meet some of my Bash irregulars. We got to meet our listener, Patrick Kelly.
Yeah.
Who-
Yes. Shout out to you.
Shout out to Patrick Kelly. Thank you so much. He has so many warm and nice things to say about us and our show.
I kept wondering who he was talking about.
I know. I was like, "Are you sure?" Time Shifter, TIME, right?
Yeah, no. We appreciate you and the love that you bestowed upon us. And please spread the word.
Yeah, absolutely. He absolutely fantastic to meet him and spend time with him.
Yeah.
You know, we all got to go out to dinner together and everything, and that's what, for me, the Bash is. That's what it is. That's all about. I like going and seeing some of the films and going to some of the talks and everything, but it's really getting together with all these friends that I only see in person once a year at this thing.
Yeah, no, the podcasting community from which you have bonded, I completely get. And then, honestly, one of my more entertaining moments was when we actually broke away from the Bash.
Yes.
And went on our little excursion.
Yes, I took you to the Night of the Living Dead tour.
Yes.
Pretty much. So we got to see the cemetery where they filmed the opening of Night of the Living Dead. And then went to the mall where they filmed Dawn of the Dead, the sequel that took place 10 years later.
Which then I got to discover that my friend Scott Sachs, that shout out to him, actually worked in that mall. So I was completely fascinated by that, and we had all set out to watch Dawn of the Dead because Manny hadn't actually seen it. He had no idea that mall, when he worked at it in his 20s, had anything to do with this film, or that even zombies were basically invented in Pittsburgh. And so it was fascinating to talk to him. We set out to watch the movie only to discover it's 2 hours and 20 minutes long. A little long for starting at 10:30 at night.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That was a really neat experience going to the mall.
It was.
Which I'm glad we went because it may be the last opportunity we have. The mall has been handed over to a developer, as I understand it. So there's a very good chance at the end of the year that
it might not be there.
It may not be there next year.
At least not in any iteration that it is currently.
Right. So I'm glad I finally went. I've been going to the Bash for 10 years and not made the drive to the mall. I've been to the cemetery a couple times. Haven't gone. So this was like, oh, well, Tom's with me.
Yeah.
This is a big deal. This might be the last chance. Let's go to the mall. And I was amazed walking into that mall. Dawn of the Dead is not a film that I visit a lot.
Right.
I've seen it a couple times all the way through. But as I told you, as soon as we walked into that mall, I was like, if I didn't know, I would still be getting like deja vu.
Right.
You know, I just feel like I would know this place and everything. And then I need to use the restroom when we got there. It's like, oh, the restroom's down this hall. And I turn this hall. I'm like, I think this is the hall that they board up in the movie. I had that feeling.
Yeah.
And then one of the fun things in the mall is the Living Dead Museum.
Yeah.
And then we talked to the guy that was behind the counter, like, where's the hallway they board? Oh, that's down the other end by J.C. Penney. Like, with the restroom and like, yeah, I was right.
Yeah, no, lots of deja vu moments, the bones of the place, it's changed obviously 1,000 times since the 70s, but yeah, the bones are still there, the pillars are still there, no fountain, unfortunately. But
no, I don't think the fountain's there anymore. But it was a very cool place to visit. The Living Dead Museum is cool. They say their lease is still good to the end of the year, is what the last word they had. Hopefully they find a new location to set up.
The gentleman that worked there seemed to think that would be a thing that would happen. So hopefully that doesn't hinder, but they won't have the environment that is just really kind of fun to be in.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. I think I was talking to them. They started out in the mall, and then they moved to a local town. I don't think it was Mars. It was one of the other small towns, and then they moved back to the mall. So hopefully, I mean, the Living Dead Museum you can't kill it, right?
Well, no, it'll just keep coming back.
That's right.
It will shamble on.
Exactly. So, yeah, fingers crossed, because that's a really interesting, great little bit of history and a really great place to kind of, if you don't know everything about George Romero and the Night of the Living Dead and the Return of the Living Dead and just zombies and films in general.
Yeah.
That is a great primer. You go and you read the plaque and you get the whole history of the zombie all in this little store in the mall.
Yeah, and it's hard to believe just thinking to that old black and white Night of the Living Dead film at how much bore out from it and how much is still very much in our culture. Like zombies rule. The rules change all the time, but the heart is still there, or not, as the case may be.
Right. Yeah, that was definitely the film that kind of changed everything for horror. And yeah, and again, it's one of those films that, had they not made the mistake of not properly copywriting it, which allowed it to go to public domain immediately,
right?
That everyone got to see a copy when home video became a thing,
right?
That we still know about it, and yeah, it just...
It might have made George Romero a lot more money if he hadn't done it.
Probably, but I mean the mark that it has made on on society and on entertainment is unmistakable. And actually being able to go and visit these places and recognize these places, whether it be Night of the Living Dead or Dawn of the Dead, it's really interesting.
Yeah, and it was a lot of fun. I appreciate that not only did we go to the mall, but we also hit the cemetery. I know you had been there before, but I hadn't, and seeing it, like, literally, we're pulling up clips from the movie so that we can make sure we take the right picture.
Yes.
And I mean, even thinking about it, and since it's such a low budget hack film back in the day when it was made, you would think, well, by modern standards, you'd have put something else over the gravestones in order to not use real people. But that movie did not take that into consideration. So literally the names and places in the cemetery are completely identical. It's not like they move those around.
Nope.
So you get to be literally in the environment of the film unchanged. So that's so cool.
Yeah, absolutely. It was very cool. So yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed, some of it. I'm glad you appreciated and enjoyed it, even if, I said, it wasn't your thing necessarily.
No. But that's just, I'm always a big fan of the whole concept. To have a friend is to be a friend. So that sometimes means you do the things that your friend really likes to do. And that's can be fascinating, is watching you in that environment, seeing you light up for the things that get you excited about it. That's part of what's worth it too.
Yeah, actually, I really appreciate it. You were asked about on Sunday. You left early Sunday, and I went back, and everyone asked what happened to you. Like, he had to cut home.
Life.
Yeah. Good friend Mary Rotolo asked. She's like, "Oh, I hope he comes back. He was fun." So
I appreciate that.
You got the seal of approval from Mary. So
that sounds like a stamp worth having.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
If I can, I will.
Excellent. Good. Well, we'll be glad to have you back if you choose to come back up.
Sure.
All right. Well, I think that's taken up enough time at the beginning of the show. We should take a break and start talking about the film that we came here to talk about. So we will take a break. We will listen to a promo for another podcast. And then when we return, we are going to talk about 2021's Settlers.
Enjoy movies like Carnival of Souls, The Mole People, Black Sunday, and The Tingler. Do you find yourself late at night reading magazines such as Filmax, Chiller Theater, or Monster Bash? Do you love vintage television programs like Sky King, Outer Limits, and The Time Tunnel? Do you find yourself surfing the net looking for the next monster movie festival or expo? Do you enjoy hearing anecdotes, cinematic details, and unusual insights into some of your favorite movies? If you answered yes to any of the above, you are encouraged to join your host, Vince Rotolo, as he examines some of the latest horror, sci-fi, and cult theatrical releases, new DVDs to add to your collection, and of course, the old classics, both good and bad. He even interviews people throughout B-Moviedom. So tune into B-Movie Cast at bmoviecast.com.
Settlers was directed by Wyatt Rockefeller and stars Sofia Boutella, Ishmael Cruz Cordova, Brooklyn Prince, Neil Tiger Free, and Johnny Lee Miller. On a desolate Martian outpost, a small family, Riza, Ilsa, and their young daughter Remy, eke out a harsh existence. But their fragile peace is shattered when a trio of armed intruders arrive, claiming the homestead as their own. In the chaos that follows, 2 attackers are killed, and the third, Jerry, returns alone with a disarming offer. Let him stay for 30 days, and then Ilsa can decide his fate. As Jerry weaves himself into their lives, unease simmers beneath the surface. For Remy, questions grow about Jerry's past, her own future, and what lies beyond the rocky ridge that defines the edge of the only world she has ever known. This was a film that I just came up on the list of films that take place on Mars or have something to do with Mars.
Hadn't even heard of it until we just saw it on our lists.
Exactly, same thing. And it has kind of intrigued me just based on the idea. It looked like, and I suspected it would be, and I mentioned it at the end of our last episode, that it might be a story that takes place on Mars but doesn't need to take place on Mars, and that's exactly what that is. They gave it that sci-fi Martian, it's on Mars edge, just to kind of increase this sort of
well, there's a level of danger related to that, because they even kind of convince you early on, you're not necessarily certain you're on Mars yet when you get started, because they are walking around freely in the environment, no suits, they're not worried about that. Their homestead looks desolate. They look like they're in a desert more than anything else, probably because they were. But at any rate, yeah, no, it's not until later you find out more about why they're there. And the part that I give them some credit for choosing to be on Mars in this environment is that notion that they are completely cut off from any other sense of civilization, and that there are dangers involved with trying to go out into the beyond.
Exactly. No, they threw into the fact that they're on Mars to just increase the idea of the isolation.
And it actually kind of helps give you that modern feel of a Western, because doing a Western, unless you're going to set it back into the 1800s, you're going to go, wait, how does this fit? Even if you create kind of a semi-post-apocalyptic society, the notion that you can leave the situation is still a viable one. So Mars's capacity in this is to limit your movements.
Yeah, exactly.
You're stuck in this one spot because you don't know that there's anywhere else to go.
Exactly. But this story is a story you could tell in a 1800s Western.
Absolutely.
Or, if, like you said, a post-apocalypse sort of thing.
Yeah.
If you so chose to do so.
Right.
So the Mars angle, maybe it simplifies things.
It gives you that containment level, a reason to be that contained. Because the topics that we'll get into, if you were another human being forced into this particular situation, the more obvious choice would be to leave.
Exactly.
But leaving is not an option because of where they are at.
The one thing I feel like this story lacked, or this film, I should say, lacked, I wish it had, and we've talked about films having too much exposition.
Right.
I really feel like this film could have used a little bit of backstory as to why are these people here? How did this situation evolve? We get little hints throughout this thing. To get into a little bit of the story, Jerry, the one of the bandits or whatever that attack him, the surviving bandit, says, this homestead was his parents.
Yeah.
He grew up there, and now he wants it back. And we find out that Ilsa tells the story that, your father took us in, but then he figured out we were from Earth and tried to kill us or kick us out. And so what's going on between Mars and Earth? What's going on? There's so much story to unpack in that one sentence, and we don't get anything.
No, and then the fact that Jerry and his band of two others who we don't get to meet or understand other than a drawing that we have to assume Jerry did of somebody important to him, which happens to be one of the people that is killed. How did they... It's clear that they were some sort of militarily trained. They had gear, obviously, a settler wouldn't necessarily have. We know that there's a way to get into this particular spot of the homestead, but we don't know anything about why that they've left where they've left to come to this homestead, what their goal is. And the part that was really nagging at me, even if this is his homestead, even if they're equipped like this, why is the gut reaction to attack a small family?
Right. I don't understand why these three people couldn't walk up and go, hey, we're
You know,
from so and so. We don't have anywhere else to go. Can we all get together? And I used
this
to
felt like a
I used to
con-
live here. We can,
This felt like a conversation more than a brutal, bloody attack kind of
Right.
situation. So that was the part that was super unsettling right out of the gate. I'm like, why are we coming at it at this angle? And if there's a reason for it, this is where that exposition needs to come into play. I don't know why this is the avenue we set ourselves on.
Yep, because Jerry, there's no like, I want revenge for you apparently killed my parents. He's like, I don't even care what you did with them because
Right.
I had no love for them. Yeah.
Right. And what made that even more awkward is like we get later in the 30 days, which we'll talk about, we get later a conversation where Isla, or however this is
Ilsa.
Ilsa, she says, your mother was dead when we got here, kind of thing, and not much more about the father side of it. So I'm like, why isn't that the first conversation you have? Why are we waiting this deep into this film and into this situation to discuss that?
Yeah, the way the film builds up and the way you see this family having to like protect themselves against this who knows what that's out there. Yeah, you feel like there's something really dark and twisted that's gone on, and really it just feels like, yeah, they just kind of wandered in. The place was practically empty, and they moved in.
And even before the attack, we get these. Obviously, they have to do a lot of work to sustain what little they have. I mean, it's fairly desolate. It's hard to grow things. They have some livestock that has to be constantly. I mean, this is homesteader, hardcore kind of stuff to do. So I get that it's a hard lifestyle, but it seemed to be a fairly joyless one too. I mean, this is supposed to be a fairly close family. They seem relatively safe, lots of hard work, but everybody was a drag almost entirely right out of the gate. So this, I'm not going to soft sell this. This is a depressing movie straight through. And so it's a little bit hard to watch.
Yeah, there is very few what you would call, joyful moments or happy.
Well, and anything where there's a smidgen of a smile that one could even put around it, it's around the robot that they have. And it's just because he's goofy, and it's unclear what exactly he does.
No, I'm not exactly sure what Steve.
Yeah, Steve the robot.
Remy names him Steve.
Yeah.
What a great name for this box that is a robot.
It's a box with legs and some sort of other appendage that can drill and then
toss a ball.
It can toss a ball because it has a pneumatic component where it can, like, we're seeing it at one point drill a hole into the ground and then blast air into the ground to break it up. To what end, we're not entirely sure. So, again, there are other components of this film where I don't necessarily need it to be full-on exposition, but it'd be nice to know what the thing's for. Since it doesn't communicate.
Right, yeah, there's no voice, there's no, not even beeps or squawks.
No. So, it's a silent movie version of R2-D2.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so that's the one thing that I felt this film definitely lacked is just you gave me a lot of stuff here, but you're not explaining why I've got any of it.
Yeah, and I want to appreciate that you are just entering a moment in time in these people's lives where they know what's going on. Why would you openly discuss it? But you gotta let the audience in on on the information, and you gotta find a way to do it. And there's always a tough balance there. There are too many movies that go way overboard. This one went way underboard.
Yeah, underboard. Good word. Yeah. So Jerry gives Ilsa the deal. It's like, give me 30 days. I'll work on getting this place up and running again,
Right.
It's gotten run down because it's apparently that Rezi and Ilsa didn't
Yeah.
really know how to keep things working or whatever.
Yeah, they're not the mechanics of this farm.
Yeah, and he said, after 30 days, I'll lay my gun on this table and I'll walk out to this porch with my back turned, and if you can make your choice.
Well, and we should be clear. The reason that this is even on the table, spoilers, of course, is he's killed their husband and father.
Yeah.
So there's a reason he's the only one left in all this. And to be fair, because of the brutal attack that Jerry and his crew decided to do, the other two are dead by the hands of the family. So this is a very peculiar thing that he is offering up here, this notion that we're going to live together in this very tight environment, and I'm going to give you 30 days to decide my fate while I help you live.
Confused. Add to the confusion is that within the 30 days, Ilsa and he sort of, they hook up. And not in a I don't have any choice kind of way. She seems to be a completely willing participant.
She looks like she's softening, but yeah, but even in that, because of the way they portray their characters, it felt more like it was an act on her part. Like
I'm not sure.
You see, and this is where there is some intrigue in the film. It's all in your interpretation of what's going on. They don't get. There's nothing about this is romantic. Even when we see their one real physical interaction, it looks mostly forced by him. And I got the impression from the way they played out the scene that 30-day timer is still in her head, and she is play acting to get across that line. Knowing full well, too, what it's doing to her daughter. Because then we get to a scene later as we've approached the 30 days.
Surpassed past the 30 days.
Yeah,
actually.
no, we were at 31 per the count that Remy puts on the window.
Mm-hmm. I think we're even beyond that. I think we're well past 30.
Perhaps. But yeah, no, well, in which case, either he's reneged on his deal, or maybe there is some softening. Again, you're on Mars. There's nowhere to go. This is the only environment they have. It's unclear that there's anywhere else to even leave to, despite some quasi conversation about where one could go and what they might find. It's hard. This is a hard situation. So, yeah, I struggle with whether or not she's biding time versus this is all there is, and I'm going to make the best out of the worst.
It's about at this point that Remy, fed up with the entire situation, runs away. Mm-hmm. And that's when she discovers that they're actually in a dome of some kind.
And fully answering the question why they're walking around in the environment without issue.
Yeah, and she discovers effectively a airlock tunnel that will exit the dome, but she almost kills herself in doing so.
Yes, no. Wandering into there, it's clear the door on the other side opens at some point after the inner door closes, and yes, she starts to suffocate.
And it's only by the fact that Jerry has been able to track her down and finds her before she dies.
Yeah.
and brings her back to the. But we still don't get any real explanation. Okay, they're in a dome.
Yeah.
It implies that there must be. Where did Jerry and the gang come from? There has to be other domes or something.
Well, and we did get a little out of Jerry on that front at one point, because he talks about, I guess there may even be cities, or at least there were cities on Mars. So there are I got the impression that there are other established locations. Where they are and whether they're still any good, That's the part that's debatable, and what we're left with as the mystery beyond the dome. Is there somewhere to go? Are there other people?
That was actually just, again, a few lines where you're like, could we unpack that a little more?
Right.
Is that you get the impression that Mars was colonized and that it was a thriving community, and then for some reason everyone packed up and left.
Yeah, or and the fact that they were equipped for battle, whether or not there were, I got more of a sense too that we had whatever our troubles were on Earth, that we also opened up to colonizing Mars well enough to build domes that an entire one little settlement could be under a dome all by itself. But we have brought whatever our problems were on Earth with us to Mars. And this is where actually I got some more Martian Chronicle kind of vibe about the movie.
Yeah, I almost feel like this story could take place like at the end of the Martian Chronicles, when everyone went back to Earth for some stupid reason because there's a war on.
One could even make the case for this almost being not the exact family, but it's very similar to where we left the last family on Mars at the end of Martian Chronicles.
Yeah, this could be
It's
the
literally
son.
them.
This could be Rock Hudson's son.
Right. Yeah, no, it's his son and the family that he started, and this is where they live.
Honestly, the habitat that they live in isn't all that dissimilar from the habitats we saw in Martian Chronicles.
I got heavy Martian Chronicle vibes out of
The
this.
exterior, anyway.
Like if we could interview, and actually reading some of the stuff I read about the director, one that he is the great I don't know if that's too many greats, grandson of John D. Rockefeller.
Of the Rockefeller. I was wondering about that name.
Rockefeller fame. And actually, he worked in the Obama White House before becoming a filmmaker.
All right.
And this is his first, legitimate film.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So it was fascinating to read a little bit about that. But no, I'd be interested in almost finding out from him. What are the films that influenced you for this? You can feel some of them, but that Martian Chronicle thing really vibes with this a lot.
No, yeah, very much. Interesting. Yeah, he's he might be one I have to look up.
Yes.
Because this film does, like what we're saying here is that this film sparks a lot of thought, and it asks a lot of questions, or gets you to ask a lot of questions, and yeah, I kind of want some answers.
Right, but this is also why for like a freshman entry, why it also has the production value that it has, and the actor level that you get in it is because he's a Rockefeller.
Well, possibly.
He has access.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, no, the production value is off the charts. I mean, you're talking about an independent film, and the anyone can go film in a desert.
Sure.
Not anyone can go film in a desert and build a life-size habitat for your actors to perform in.
Yes,
to create a homestead.
And while the dome doesn't feature heavily, when we do actually get to see it, it's very well done. Like it is not a cheap sci-fi effect. It is made to look like it's invisible to you all other times until you get right up on it, and then the effects that they do to make it look like it's there are insanely believable.
As is the airlock doors.
Yeah,
and
the
everything.
airlock door thing is very cool.
They look like a physical something that's
built into the mountainside that's right there,
Yeah.
so you get an impression of why this is the location for the airlock. Yeah, no, it was very impressive. Even early on, when the family is there, it's before the attack. They're telling Remy not to wander off too far. because I guess they're really kind of trying to hide where exactly they are from her, so she doesn't worry about it. But when she wanders into the valley near where she eventually climbs and sees the edge of the dome, you can see some sort of equipment in the side of the mountainside, just off to one side, which you're like, okay, now I get that we're on Mars, and that has something to do with why they're we don't know what it is. We're not given any context, but your head can wrap around very quickly that this is a component of the technology that allows them to be in this area without suits and all of this. Because that was the part that was freaking me out right away. I'm like, come on, this is 2021. You know a little bit more about Mars than this.
Well, yeah, that's initially you're thinking, well, this is so far in the future that they've terraformed Mars to some extent, and
right?
This would allow them and everything. But yes, then they introduced the dome idea. Like, oh, okay, that's why the dome has as strong a breeze as we occasionally do in this film. Whatever, wind machine somewhere that you don't see.
Something is circulating air in this space. However, they're even getting it. Although they did a lovely job with the environment too over the period of time that we saw, because when we get past the 30 days whatever mark and then Jerry does kill Ilsa. Thank you. I keep blanking on Ilsa. Anyway, kills Ilsa, and now we have a jump ahead point at this stage.
Yeah, at least a good decade.
Yeah,
probably more.
Yeah, because needless to say, the choice at the end. This is why I keep piling on that maybe she's just biding time. I'm like, how can you actually fall for the man that killed your husband and your daughter's father, especially since it could have all been solved with a conversation. But she ends up dead and all this, and we jump ahead, and it's clear Jerry has needs. But before we even get to the later needs, we get that moment, because at this stage, you gotta figure 8 to 12 years, maybe, roughly. Giving that I'm assuming Remy was about 8 to 9 years old originally. The older version of her is somewhere between 16 and 20.
Yeah.
We don't get hard numbers on any of that stuff. But during this time, he's managed to create a pond of a sort, and you actually see vegetation growing freely on its own around the water source, which then would add to the oxygen in their dome, which is, I assume, part of the point.
Well, and even the through the 10-year period, even the 30-day period, you see that Jerry does make good on his word about getting the place up and running. He gets the water running again inside, so that you can take showers. You can use the tap at the sink, where before they were having to go out to a pump or whatever. And you, after the 10 to 15 years, whatever, gap, whatever, we see that in the greenhouses, all the plants, which look like they were barely hanging on, are now flourishing.
Yeah.
So he's made good. He's done what he said he would.
Food's easy. There's more than one pig, because we really only kind of saw one. Where the other pigs came from, it's a bit of a question mark.
Yeah, apparently there was more than one, and we just didn't see them. But
but they're way more mature.
There's chickens, there's pigs, there's lots of produce and everything now and everything.
Yeah, so they're living actually fairly well at this stage, especially for such a small group. So
yeah.
In fact, actually, dialing back to when we were talking about the dome and all that, initially, I almost kind of thought, before we get to the attack and all this, that this was more of a training mission. I was waiting for, when do we get to Mars? Because I wasn't clear that we were there already.
Well, other than the fact that we do get to see what's his name, Rezi, the father.
Yeah, it's the discussion about what Remy is seeing in the sky at night through the window.
And they do see Earth and the moon. And
yeah, that's when I got the tip off. But right up until we had that scene, I'm like, are we on Mars yet? Because we already saw them walking around outside, and I'm like,
Oh, right.
And we hadn't gotten any context yet, again, because this movie doesn't have any exposition whatsoever.
No, it is it's a dark film.
It is.
And it's really intriguing, and it's very dark, and I don't know what else to say about it. I can't sit here and say, no, I liked it. But I can sit there and say that this film kept me engaged and
Yes.
kept me interested through the whole thing.
Yeah. And I would have to say the director's intent is, one, to evoke the emotions. Can you see yourself in this position? What would you do in these scenarios? To spark the conversations we're having. Like, again, my initial thought is to, why immediately jump to violence? Why wasn't there a conversation first? That says, maybe, I think the film is entirely intended to see who are you in this situation as well as what you're watching. It's not telling just the story. It's trying to pull out what you're invested in when you're watching it. But the darkness of it does kind of overshadow things because, again, we're not seeing the best of humanity in almost any of this. The family's fairly bleak, even early on, even when things are all right. We don't know what's driving the three that attack necessarily, other than they want a safe place to be, but they've chosen physical violence over conversation. And then even then, now you've dialed it down, at least for the quote-unquote 30 days, to an attractive young woman, her daughter, and this man, where you can kind of see where that might go. But then we dial it up a notch when that doesn't go his way, and he's quote-unquote forced to kill her because she wants to kill him. He's left with this young girl that you kind of see where that's gonna go. You're almost pleasantly surprised initially when we return to a future where she is in her late teens, early 20s. And
nothing nefarious has happened between them?
He seems to be... it's cold. He's trying. He even almost elicits a smile out of her with some joke about a conversation with Steve that can't have happened. Mm-hmm. So you're thinking, okay, well, at least he's more decent than you thought originally, until he's way totally not.
Yeah. No, he's some sort of sociopath or something. Because, yes, there are times where he's like, I'm going to be respectful. I'm going to be polite. I'm going to do the right thing. And then, but, you tried to hurt me, so I'm going to kill you. Whoa.
Right, yeah, like, you didn't, you couldn't have subdued her and put her and then tried to smooth it out and continue to show that you're the more mature in this situation, that maybe the killing of her husband was he's coming for me, I'm coming for him kind of thing, and I'm the one that made it out. Not great, but you can almost wrap your head around that.
Sure.
But then he just goes completely evil, because now he is literally making sexual advances on someone, because he aged 10 plus years too.
Right.
So this is a man at this stage that you're going to have to consider is probably in his 40s.
Late 30s, early 40s, right.
Maybe. We don't know how young he was when he even got there in the first place.
Yeah, they didn't make a lot of effort in changing his appearance.
Not a whole lot.
We changed actresses.
Yes, we changed actresses. We had to.
But they didn't take a lot of effort to age him at all.
No, they didn't give him a rougher look. They didn't gray his hair or change it. In fact, the only thing to denote anything that time had passed for him is his ponytail was way longer.
Yeah, I was a little disappointed. Like, he had an odd kind of scraggly beard.
Yeah.
And he still had the odd scraggly beard. You'd think after 10 years, you go, maybe I'm going to grow this out
Grow
or
it out,
shave it
beard
off.
Mhm.
Yeah, but
Maybe an opportunity to throw a gray or two. I mean, they're not living an easy life, so it's not
Right.
like he's moisturizing and stuff. So, yeah, you should have maybe thrown a little more effort. But the point is in your head, you know that he is way too old for this girl that he is now forcing himself on.
Mm-hmm.
Even if he had deluded himself into thinking, oh, she's softened and she's into this, which nothing about this is right.
well, and even in his mindset as he's talking, he's telling her that they have a responsibility. That's his motivation for even forcing himself on her, is that they have some sort of responsibility to like have kids and to keep the species going. And like, I don't even want to know where you think this is going to go
Yeah,
in another 18 years.
Right, yeah, I don't know who's supposed to actually propagate this. 2 is not enough.
Right. No.
And honestly, even if that's where his head's at, aside from the fact it just doesn't make sense, it's also you are dooming your said child. Even if this is a wanted thing, you're dooming that child to an even worse thing. Like, at least we did get one hint out of the family that she got pregnant after they got to their spot, and it wasn't ever intended to be this way. So having her was not a plan. It was just an act of the circumstances to which they were on this settlement.
Well, yeah, I think that she was actually already pregnant when they arrived. She said she was like 7 months pregnant.
Oh,
And the
well, I
father-
think they
when the
were
father
hoping. Yeah,
took him in.
yeah, but they were hoping to come to a much different environment than.
Yeah.
Than they
See,
got.
the whole time,
Yeah,
because
this
they're talking
is
about their ship crashed and she's 7 months pregnant. And it's like, where were you going? Were you trying to leave Mars? And
Yeah,
or
were you
coming?
leaving Mars to go to Earth? Were you coming to Mars from Earth because Earth is having a problem?
Oh,
Where
but then-
on Mars were you going?
Yeah, but then she said that the father ended up turning sour against him because he figured out that they were from Earth, and so
Yeah, and
there's-
like I said, this is where some exposition could have come in.
yeah, there's an entire novel of something that happens before we get to this film.
Indeed, but yeah, again, just going back to where we're going with this is just everything about this is just intended to get you to think about the situation, because even when we end the film, everybody's gone at this stage. The circumstances of the going is even terrible because we don't even get a whole lot of vindication for Remy, because she was flat. She was either going to be raped or killed in her final moments there, in Jerry's final moments. And it took Steve to save her. And I don't know that felt right for the Remy character at all, nor I know we were supposed to like Steve. We know that Steve was supposed to like Remy, but I don't know how this box shifts from whatever its role was to killer and savior of human girls.
Yeah, suddenly it has a moral center.
Yeah. So that went weird very quickly. Only made weirder by her attempt to fix him and then leave him.
Yeah,
But
someone's got to take care of the pigs and chickens.
Right, but we wander out of the habitat with a destination unknown because we have no exposition. We don't know what's out there or what she's even hoping for. So we're either left, and I think that's part of the deal with this film. You're left with the question, is she now so desperate? Because we watch her go through a stage where she is basically going insane because she's the only one there. Life is the same thing day after day until she runs out of steam. So she is making this decision to leave this habitat so that she can find something more. But are we leaving out of desperation and this is how she's committing suicide, or are we leaving with hope that there is something to be found? And I think it's about the viewer, not about the film. So, which is why I'm thinking we're saying we don't necessarily hate this film or think that it's even bad, but it's so dark. It's not like I'm going to pop this in and watch it again.
Right. It's
got you all choked up.
Yeah. It's at its core, I think it's a depressing film. At least it was for me.
Yeah.
And that's just my personal, when I go to watch a film, that is not the emotion I want to walk away with.
No.
So that's where my it's more with me than the film. Incredibly well made film.
Yeah.
Well acted, well directed. Maybe a skosh too long. It's like an hour and 40 some odd minutes.
Little bit. I didn't have a problem with the length because it drags a lot through the center of the film while we're going through the 30-day slog.
I'm just thinking of that, with all that time that this film has, you could have filled that with a little bit of that explanation that we're looking for.
The thing I found, and I'm puzzled by this, and I'm bringing this up in the latter moments of our recording here. But if you noticed, there were 3 chapters in the movie. They were named after the 3 of the characters, none of which are named for the main character, which is Remy.
Right.
And I don't know what to take away from that.
Yeah, and I've read a little bit of trivia that just pointed out that each chapter is named after the character that ends up dying at the end of the chapter.
Right.
And so Remy doesn't have her own chapter.
Which I think is supposed to, at least with how dark this is, elicit some sense of hope. Mm-hmm. So that's an interesting way to take that, is she doesn't have a chapter because her chapter has not ended. But I don't know if that's enough to pull me in. And I'm sorry, but watching this, knowing that it's trying to pull something of you out of it while you watch it, in the time period in which we live right now, it's not pulling good things.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a tough watch, a very interesting watch. I'm glad we watched it.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
don't think I'll watch it again.
No, there's definitely not. It's a film that is going to stick with me, and it'll be one that I'll think about occasionally, but I'm very unlikely to revisit it.
Right, yeah, because I don't need that in my life. The negativity that it would pull out, unless some switch flips and I can see that hope that maybe she's walking beyond for an adventure to a new life and new opportunity. I'm not there right now.
No, exactly. It does star several people that would, if I saw their name come up in a film, I'd be like, oh. Good. I'm interested in seeing more from them.
Yeah.
Particularly the 2 actresses that played Remy.
Yes, no, they were fantastic.
The one that played the younger 8, 9, 10-year-old is amazing.
Yes, no, and I understand she's done other things that are also equally amazing. So
yeah,
it'll be fun to watch her as her career evolves.
Yeah, absolutely. So if nothing else, it's definitely gave me a few more names to kind of watch out for.
It was also fun to see, I'm sorry, I've forgotten his name, the dad that played Reza. Mm-hmm. Wasn't he he was in a series, the Dresden Files or something like that.
Was he?
Yeah, he was Dresden.
Oh, interesting. I missed that entirely if that was the case.
Yeah, no, that was him because you have to see him without the beard.
I was looking to see if it was anything. I just looked on my IMDb to see if there was anything I saw him in, and I didn't remember seeing anything. I'm going to pop him up real quick here. Johnny Lee Miller.
Yeah. Yeah, no, Johnny was one of those guys I was fascinated with. I initially had another thought in mind, but he's from the I think it was CBS had the show Elementary, which is the modern their modern take on Sherlock Holmes, where it was him as Sherlock and Lucy Liu as Dr. Watson. So
Nice.
Yes, no. So I remember seeing him from that, and it was weird while watching the film, seeing him in the beard. I'm like, I know that face. Where are you from? And then I looked him up and like, yeah, okay. So yeah, he'd be one that I'd absolutely love to see what else he comes up in. I think you looked him up and found out as a younger person he was in a Doctor Who episode.
If IMDb is to be believed.
Well, it's the reference that we have most of the time.
Yeah, no, supposedly as a child, he was, as Kinda Child in 1982, he appeared in an episode of the Peter Davidson era called Kinda.
Oh, I totally remember that one.
Oh, yeah. It's actually one of my favorite Peter Davidson episodes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Now you may have to go back and revisit and go, can you pick him out?
Probably not. There's a lot of Kinda children.
A lot of Kindas?
Yeah, definitely. So I don't think that nothing in particular is going to stand out.
No, but that's still fascinating if that's what he's in. And I don't have a hard time believing it. But yeah, you see, now that I think about it, watching Sherlock Holmes on Mars was a little entertaining. At least it was a nice little dig. And I've always enjoyed Sophia's work, too. So, and this one actually required her to definitely she's used to doing more, or I'm used to seeing her more in action-oriented stuff, and so watching her in something where she has to be fully dramatic, it's just, I think, because she is good at bringing angst in, there was maybe a little too much, because it's a dark film, but I mean, we never got any relief whatsoever, so makes it just a tough watch all the way around.
Yeah. All right, well, we didn't get any social media on this one.
No?
It doesn't really surprise me. I think this is probably one that fell below a lot of people's radars.
Yeah, which was interesting, seeing as how there was lots of critical information from the professionals. I managed to even pull out 4 really good ones.
Okay, great.
So from RogerEbert.com, we have Brian Tallarico. He puts in there, with a strong cast and an intriguing premise that basically transports a Western plot into outer space, Settlers should work, but it simply sags in the middle, only barely sparking to life again in a more suspenseful final act. By then, it's too late, as an emotional connection to these characters or their fates has blown away with the dust that dominates the color palettes of the film. So
we could have just read that. And
yeah, kind of
gone home for the day. At least I could have. I really kind of feel like that's my thoughts on the film.
Yeah, and that's where it leaves me, is like it sucked me in, but I had a hard time caring for anybody in particular, other than maybe Remy.
Mm-hmm, sure.
And because it was just so hard to watch, it was hard to get excited about it. Then we over on The Guardian, we have Peter Bradshaw. Wyatt Rockefeller's movie is no mere vanity project. He has written and directed an interesting sci-fi western in a starkly pessimistic vein, with an audaciously developed narrative and nice performances. All in all, the work of someone serious about cinema. And he stated this after stating all of the background I provided earlier, where, yes, he is from the Rockefeller family. Yes, he had a political background before he ever got into cinema. So, and then he goes on to say, Settlers isn't perfect. Some of the storytelling beats aren't hit as clearly as they could have been, but it's a quietly impressive piece of work. And for that, I'd actually say that's accurate. It's a hard watch, but it is a good watch. But it's going to be a solitary watch.
Yeah.
Over at Chicago Sun-Times, we have Richard Roper. Settlers is a well-made film with stunning visuals and top-tier production design. The small ensemble is excellent, in particular young Brooklyn Prince and then Neil Tiger Free, creating a seamless transition from Remy as a girl to Remy as a young woman. Both actors are outstanding. Ultimately, though, Settlers is more about setting a mood and painting a picture of hopelessness than explaining what happened before the story. What's happening beyond the borders of the compound and what lies ahead for Remy, it feels incomplete.
Yeah.
Also very accurate.
Yeah.
I knew you were going to love these as I read them.
Yeah,
because-
that one's very much. Yeah, you feel like you have come into the middle of the story
Right.
and you don't know what happened in the beginning. You couldn't stay for the end.
No, and you're never going to get catharsis.
Right.
There's no release. You're like, and that's just going to go on and on and on. Over at the New Yorker, Anthony Lane writes, Settlers has its problems, most of which are structural. Tense and firm at either end, it sags. Again, no, it's like they're literally almost copying each other. Sags in the middle like a mattress. Also, the grown-ups are pretty dull and flat. That's fair. Their mood set to maximum glower. Luckily, we have Remy, played first by Brooklyn Prince and later as a teenager by Neil Tiger Free, to steer us through the doldrums and to energize the plot. Again, very fair. And then the New York Times, this one's gonna be more the gut punch. Lena Wilson, and I would like to point out at this stage, I have just read you reviews from All Men. This is the one that I found from a female critic.
Just before you go, it's Nell Tiger Free, not Neil. It's Nell.
Okay, well, I'm reading this from very small. So, Nell Tiger Free. Anyway, the New York Times, Lena Wilson. Settlers purports to challenge violence against women and colonialism. Instead, the female protagonist wallows in powerlessness for most of the movie, and the boxy robot is ultimately presented as more sympathetic than a displaced brown man. So she's hitting hard on the fact that it leans fairly misogynistic on this and white guy misogynistic. So, and I can't say that that's wrong either.
No, true.
And this is why I think this is why I liked getting that review on top of these other reviews, is this film is as much about what you carry into it as to what it is putting out. So
yes.
you will take this film in any number of ways depending on your experience, who you are, and where you sit in the world. So.
Yeah, very interesting. Yeah, a very interesting watch. Like you said, I'm very glad we watched it. Yeah, it's a tough one.
Yeah.
It's a tough one to take.
It's thought-provoking. It is an incredibly interesting thing. It would even be made more so if you could round out the world a little bit more. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I can't see me revisiting this because that would be tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, unless he wants to make a prequel and a sequel.
Well, and if this is your jumping off point, I would wade into a prequel and a sequel with a lot of trepidation.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, I want to thank everyone for listening to the Time Shifters podcast. We'd love to hear your thoughts on this episode, whether it's feedback, questions, or just something you want to share. Absolutely. If you've watched Settlers and you have a thought or two of your own, we'd love to hear from you. You can reach out via email or drop a comment on any of our social media posts. Just follow the link in the show notes or head to timeshifterspodcast.com.
If you've got a moment, please consider leaving a rating or a review. It really helps more people discover the show, and who knows, they might become listeners as well.
Feeling extra generous, you can toss a little support our way at kofi.com/TSPOE podcasts. Every bit goes towards web hosting and production costs. This show is always going to be free for you people, but any help you can give us is greatly appreciated.
And if you just prefer things, items, stuff, oh, and I lost my place. Edit that out. If you like something cool, support the show, check out our merch at TeePublic or Dashery. Links are in the show notes or on our website. You'll be helping us out and supporting some awesome independent artists at the same time.
Yep, absolutely. That's going to do it for this episode. Thank you for listening, everyone. We will talk to you next time. Bye.
See ya.